Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 23rd, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies I use to guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into things, I just want to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator. He hides in the back to make sure technology works properly. And then he turns around and makes sure problem children are not problems, as in pops them out of the room before they create a problem. And then they are still able to hear what we're talking about. They just can't interact. Now, with that in mind, okay, we also have, there are some problem children that will come in, change their name. Don't bother, guys. Storm will find you. Okay, just a caution because this has got to remain a safe place for everybody. Now, LA Moon is in the house, and she is our primary moderator on site because she helps make sure that the conversation keeps moving while watching for interaction, for complications inside. And yes, LA, I actually had a rice pilaf today. Pretty fair amount of it. Just got finished about 15 minutes before I logged in here. So yeah, doing well. Okay. Now, what do we got? Oh, and we'll get to that in half a second. Now, before we get into the actual show here, we have Eternity Eternal. You are in with the gold. How's it going? Hopefully things are going well on your end. And to Mothman, you are in with the silver. I don't see you in here as often, but I know you've got a busy life at the best of times. And then we come down, and we have a newcomer in there, at least newcomer as far as I can tell. Okay, and that is Christine Lynn. How you doing, Christine? Just a quick note, and especially since I haven't seen you in here before, but this comes up anyway. Even regardless of what we're talking about, if you've got a question, absolutely pop it into the chat room, but please put it in all caps so I can find the thing. Okay, literally we handle questions from virtually every walk of life. There's a few I won't deal with, but we'll take a look at those if we have to. Now, then we have, let's see. And Nathan, how you doing? Now, Nathan is one of our moderators, but Nathan is, Nathan is constantly at work, which is where we run into an interesting situation. So he pops in, keeps an eye as much as he can. But let's face it, family, then work, then entertainment. Okay, so Nathan, Nathan is here, and we have, I do believe that, oh, nope, and that is where we are. So we'll see where that goes. Now, yesterday we were working on the Galactic Consortium. As it turned out, we have to go back to that, and I figured I might as well go back to the very beginning. As the song says, it's a very good place to start. But the Galactic Consortium is the governing body that handles over 2,500 member species. Now understand, each species may have multiple races. So we're talking about a whole pile of people here. But the consortium is literally a group of planetary species, all of them with one world governments, not dictatorships. All of them are interstellar capable. No, my apologies. Some of the consortium are developing plans that have not yet created an interstellar, or for that matter, interplanetary technology. But they do have the qualifying factor of having a one world government. Now, understand, Earth has the backbone to a one world government. They just frankly don't seem to know it yet. Okay, but a one world government, the way they've set it up, is basically set up. The UN is set up in a similar fashion. Member representatives from all around the governing area. Okay, in the case of the consortium, they've got 3 tiers of 12 different members of species. Okay, on any one of the governments in governmental seats, you've only got 12 members, only one from a given species. Okay, and they come from every walk of life. Now, the thing we have to realize is, first and foremost, I'm going to lose the phone. No, that actually wasn't first and foremost. I get sidetracked every now and again. There we go. Managed to save that. Now, the level of technology is not how they decide whether you become a member. Okay, whether you become a council member. Okay, now let us understand something. First and foremost, you have 13 different species. Well, 12 on each tier. You got 3 tiers. This means, okay, we have, now think about this. On Earth, and I can't give you the numbers, but we have something like 152 or 153 different countries. Okay, each one of those countries has, like, what do we got? 40, 50 people in parliament or in the government housing. Now, I do not follow Terran politics, so let's just get that straight. Okay, but, so we've got literally thousands. Well, if you do basic math, and those numbers are probably really short. We've got about 30,000, just over 30,000 governmental people in governmental decision-making positions. The Galactic Consortium has 36, covering 2,500 species. Okay, now who's got the streamlining down somewhat finer? What do you think? Okay, now here's the way the whole thing went. When this all started, way back when, now you may have heard of the Big Bang Theory. Okay, all of a sudden there's a flashlight and here we all are. Not quite that simplistic, but you get the idea. At the end of the last rendition, there were a few species that came across. Okay, the rest got wiped out. The Zerziks. Cowie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. As a matter of fact, Cowie, you have come in with honorable mention. So welcome aboard. Now, the Zerziks, okay, were one of the few species that carried over from the last rendition of reality. Okay, they came over, as did the spirit folk. Okay, now these are people from the upper realms who managed to come through. They're also the people that actually took on all of the corporeal entities, all the corporeal bodies that you recognize. And I mean people, ancient races, off-worlders, plants, animals. All of these have spirits. Okay, and yes, every one of them, topic for another day, every one of these spirits goes back to the same place when their corporeal body passes. So, when the Zerziks came over, they looked at this mess and went, okay, we're going to have a problem. Because they lived through the last rendition, they also brought with them the knowledge to handle the Akashic records. And we discussed those a while back. But what the Zerziks did was they watched as the species as the different corporeal races started to evolve, and went, how about if we try and avoid this absolute disaster of non-negotiation? We'll just avoid it before everything gets in place. And they started up the organizing and the discussions of organizing the Galactic Consortium, an amalgamation of various different species from all around the cosmos. Now, they did bring in they brought in one member of essentially the spirit realm. Okay, the people before spirits are formed, before bodies were formed. Yes, they're all over the place. Okay, another one of the original races that held membership of the council were the Sarkon. Okay, now these are all being discussed, and we'll go into detail on them later. Right now, the consortium is the big thing. Okay, so this was all put in place. A lot of rules were put in place, just guidelines to handle the common areas of the consortium, meaning the places in between already established empires. Okay, now, all laws in the consortium are geared to every individual. Even the leaders that are sitting in the top positions of the council must follow these laws. Okay. Now, if mankind were to actually start working together, we could do the same thing. But we've got to get people into control positions that are not looking at to make themselves look better, or to leave a mark that has their name pasted all over the front page of something. Okay, your best people to put in position. Well, let me ask you this. I've asked a lot of people this. If you're looking to put somebody into a position of power, what's the number one quality of any person, any entity that you desire to put into a place of prominent power? Yeah, I figured I'd just let you figure on that one for a minute. I will give you an answer. Where are we here? So, all in all, we are looking at a governing body that is designed to make sure, number one, every member planet has the ability to evolve at their own pace. The consortium is not going to come in and go, oh, you're not allowed to fight amongst yourselves. That's not the way it's going to work. Except in the case, I didn't check his nationality. The funny thing there, Tim, like, I have no idea who owns it. I know I like it, and therefore, see, I look at the world simply. You're all human. Well, the most of you, the majority of you are. This should be a bonding situation. Okay, everybody's got their differences. Everybody's got their strengths, their weaknesses. Okay, but until we start treating each other as equals, we're going to continue being led by people that believe they're better than everybody else because they've been elected or been appointed or forced their way into a position of power. But let's paint this in perspective, shall we? Take any city of 100,000 people anywhere in the world. Odds are you've got maybe 10,000 people running the government. Hate to tell you this, guys. Watch A Bug's Life. Okay, Pixar and Disney's A Bug's Life. Watch it to see what happens with the reality of it. Now, you've got 10,000 people in any given city. Okay. In any given city running the country, running that city. But that means you've got 90,000 people. If you'd quit buying into the fear, you wouldn't have as big a problem. Now, the consortium went, okay, common areas, everybody follows the same laws. Everybody. Doesn't matter what your gender, what your species, what your political position, doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter who you crawl into bed with. And by the way, guys, bit of a side note, but the bipedal form is such an awkward form. Not that many species actually are bipeds. Now, the ones that I've been writing about, a lot of the ones I've been writing about in the races of the world, okay, a lot of them are bipedal, but that's because they're easier for you guys to relate to. Now, I will tell you this, there's a few, like the spare knocked in. Okay, spare knocked in look like Terran button mushrooms. They are not. Okay, don't try and bite them. They will bite back or shoot you. But the consortium goes, okay, you're all equal. So in the common areas, everybody follows the same laws. However, and we'll use Earth for an example. Okay, let's clear that up. Earth is not a quarantine planet. It is not a slave planet. And we are not in some sort of computer program. Okay, they're wonderful stories for science fiction. They really are. Get you thinking about all sorts of things. But the reality is, sorry guys, you're real. You're not in a simulation. You can't just die and reinsert yourself into reality. Doesn't work that way. Not entirely anyway. But the consortium went, okay, Earth has one planet that they're in control of. That and the area right around the orbit is their territory. Now, because Earth has a direct link to the moon, the travel between the moon and Earth is actually under Terran control. Now, the ironic part in that is mankind does not have a successful space fleet yet. I do know, and do not ask me where I found this out because I didn't go looking on the computer for it. I do know they are working right now, they being the Terran world at large, is working on putting technology together, or more to the point, to perfecting it, to draw an asteroid into geosynchronous orbit around the moon. They've already got the clearance to do it. Okay, the purpose for this is going to be installing a manufacturing plant for starships, because it'll be a lot easier to get it off of the asteroid than will off of Earth. Okay, but the consortium says, okay, that area between Earth and the moon is Terran control. So you gotta follow their laws. Now, we have an interesting situation. There's lots of people that say Earth is a prison planet. Yet we're having thousands of abductions a day, a year. Now, I'm a little lost. Unless I misunderstand something, a prison planet should be quarantined. It should be isolated. You shouldn't have people coming and going, being kidnapped and put back. Okay, and this is where the questionable constructs come in. So, Earth has control of Earth itself, which means, guys, nobody, alien, ancient race, or for that matter, whoever you call God, nobody is coming down to straighten this mess out that we've got down here. Free will and free choice gives you, the individual, control over this planet. Now, the kicker is you don't have freedom of consequence. So the consortium sits there and goes, okay, you've done it to yourself. Now, mankind right now is on the verge of either blowing itself all the way back to the Stone Age, or getting world peace. Okay, now understand, world peace does not mean you don't have conflicts. I mean, let's face it, a household can be at peace and still have fights periodically. So you've got in consortium controlled space, not only is everybody treated equally, but what they do is they look at the length of time it takes for the average qualified person to do a given job. How many man hours does it take? That's how you get paid, is in man hours. Okay, whether we're talking about the construction of a starship or the cooking of a meal, you get paid in man hours that get clocked, that you get to check in, that you get to cash in on to get your stuff. Now, with that in mind, different planets have different currencies. Okay, now the neat little part there is, what do we do about the planets that have their own currency, but somebody comes from another world? Okay, well, the way the consortium set it up is that there is an exchange place nearby in Earth system. That way station is on the dark side of the moon, which, by the way, is actually really, really light. But we call it dark because you can't communicate with it well. So when you come from another system, you take your charted man hours, and they get translated. And don't ask me exactly what the translation is. Sorry, I'm not one of the bankers. Okay, but it gets translated and goes, okay, a man hour here is worth this amount. But what they've done is gone, just for instance, 1 man hour of work is worth 1 hour's wage on that planet. Okay, and they'll swap it and they'll move it over. So you can come here from other places. But as an off-worlder, you cannot take a position of power in a government or a corporation. Okay, you just can't do it. It's absolutely forbidden. If a visitor to another planet, in other words, an alien, goes, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to become the president of this country, that individual will be summarily executed. Back in consortium space, they'll just simply be yanked off the map and they'll go missing. Okay, Karens will never know about it. Same thing applies if a coup is started, if somebody's trying to invade or forcibly take a foothold on an occupied planet, which ought to be really neat in some cases. But the consortium ensures this does not happen. Okay, now here's the kicker. Let's say your group of people, your planet, is trying to forcibly get a foothold on an occupied planet, occupied by a member species. The consortium will come in and say, back it off, just drop the whole idea, you're not allowed to do that. Right? If the invading force does not immediately leave, okay, understanding sometimes it takes a little while to collect them all up, then the consortium will go to the planetary base that holds their primary, secondary, and tertiary government, and literally obliterate it. They won't go in and kill the politicians. They kill everything. Okay, they wipe it all out. Now, this may sound brutal, but it does protect the sovereignty of every member species. You know, one of the nice parts about this. Oh, where are we? Just checking to make sure I didn't miss something here, and apparently not. You know, so what we're looking at is an organization designed to keep everybody on equal ground. Now, do not get me wrong. Some people are better equipped at building a car. For instance, the way you get paid better is produce more units in less time. Okay, because if you get paid 1 man hour for every car let's say it's going to take take 10 hours to build a car because you're good. Okay, and you can build it in 5. Well, this means you're getting paid in half an hour. You're getting paid a full hour's wage. Okay, that's how you end up faster. How you end up better paid. It's not because, oh, you're related to the boss. They don't care. They'll look at you and go, and that matters. Why? You still can't do the job, so you're not getting any better. You're not getting better pay. Hey, Mel, how we doing? We have WD-40 in the house. Glad you could join us there, Mel. You know, they will say that's how it works in consortium space. And of course, the reality is and do not ask me what the exchange rate is, but then I can't tell you what the exchange rate is from the Japanese yen to the Canadian dollar. Okay, so you're going to have to figure that one out. But the money that people have on Earth, okay, is translatable into functional money in the consortium. Now, here's the kicker. There aren't that many of us to go up there and come and go. Okay, but when we go back to the council, one of the qualifiers, first and foremost, understand there is only ever one member of a given species in the council. Now, the council is set up as a 3-tier system. Okay, but when you're looking at the qualifications, the individual that gets elected to council is first and foremost has no prejudice to anybody. Okay, they look at everybody from an equal standpoint. Blue Cruz, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust you've been keeping out of trouble, at least not getting caught. Now, the nice part about it is these 12 people, well, these 36, 3 sets of 12. Whenever there is a situation that arises where the person coming to the council for guidance or for some sort of judgment, for instance, let's say a member of the Sarkon Empire has come before the council, before the consortium council, to find out if they can do something. If there is a Sarkon member sitting on the council, that Sarkon member will step off the podium and let one of the people, a non-Sarkon, sit in for that session. But the Sarkon that stepped down didn't give up his seat. He just simply passed it over for this one thing. Same thing applies all the way down. Okay, but like I said, at least 2,500 species members, and only 36 sit on the council. Okay, this is where it gets to be an interesting setup, because they've got 36 to handle billions. Okay, and even if you go to the inner circle, and again, I don't know the numbers on Earth, but even on the inner circle, you got more than that in one country than they do for the entire consortium. Okay, Now, some of the things that are taken into consideration, for instance, the running of an individual empire, the consortium has nothing to do with it. They literally stand back and go, do what you will. If you're following consortium law on the whole, by the way, consortium law is pretty easy. It starts with the same three ones that get taught to every species right from the get-go. And I do mean every species. I don't mean every sentient species. I mean every species. The dandelion people. Again, dandelions, evergreens, your elementals, your deer, your rabbits, and humans. Sometimes I wonder if the humans actually have a lower intelligence level, but that's me. Now, every species gets the same three laws. Okay, they're the karmic laws. They apply to everybody, including who you call God himself or herself or whatever. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, now, those are the first three of the consortium laws. There are a number of other ones that get enforced as well. Like, for instance, if a member species is there, okay, or has been put under watch, which is what has happened to Terra. Now, here we call it Earth. Okay, the consortium refers to this planet as Sol 4. Okay, the reason being that Earth sits in the fourth orbit of the local solar system. So, we're listed as Sol 4. Sol 4 is a protected planet, not a quarantined one, because mankind right now is on the verge of either bombing itself back to the Stone Age or getting a unified government. Okay, finally we're seeing this all over the place. One of the big things that we got to remember here is everybody in the consortium is viewed as equally valuable. Yes, the security teams have different levels of clearance. Other than that, everybody's got to follow the same rules. But here's a short version of the security teams. If you get selected to become a member of the security team, you are a member for life. This is not something you put a few years in. You put in 4 years or even a decade. You say, okay, I'm no longer a member of the security team, so I'm going to retire and I'm going to do a different life. This is not the way that security in the consortium works. You become a member of the security team, you are now there for life. The only way out is termination. Now, if there is a breach of if you've got a breach of conduct, Raven, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Not seeing you in here for a while. But with this in mind, okay, if you have a breach of security, if you yourself are a member of the team and you have a breach of security, if there is quantifiable proof that you've done this, you will not be fired, you will be terminated. Okay, there is no, we'll put him in jail for 10 years. They will terminate you, meaning dead. If there is not quantifiable evidence that you've done something wrong, you will go on a permanent watch list. Okay, and what I mean by that is you didn't get caught, but now they're going to watch, and they won't get you off the security detail. Okay, you're still there because you still got information that is too dangerous to release. But they won't terminate you because it wasn't proven in quantifiable form. However, If it ever turns up that it can be proven, guess what? Termination ensues. And no, you get terminated, your next of kin does not get a lump sum payout. Okay, you broke the law, you died, all of the effort you put in went with you. It's pretty black and white that way. But that's the one area, when we take a look at the whole situation. Well, why do we do that? Well, when you take a look at the whole situation, okay, what you're dealing with is the security teams are able to walk into any area in consortium control, and depending on their clearance, they can walk in without provocation. Their provocation is, I got a feeling that there's something off, so I'm going to go check it out. Now, there are different levels of security, but if a lower member of the security team feels there's something wrong and doesn't have clearance to go in, they will simply call their superior, and it's like, boom, all the way to the top if it has to be, and they'll bring somebody in that can take a look. If there is a problem, guess what their solution to the problem is? And this is why the consortium is very quick, because they look for quantifiable evidence. Okay, if there is a proven problem, like for instance, let's say that the consortium itself does not condone slavery. Okay, you cannot go buying and selling slaves. You can't go buying and selling slaves in consortium space. However, individual species do work with slavery. They do buy and sell slaves. When you take a look at it, the Kamalians are a prime example. But when you're traveling in consortium space, you must treat your slaves decently. None of this idea of beating them in public. You desire to beat them into public, you go on to your species controlled area, i.e., on your ship, because that is an extension of your world. You can do whatever fits your laws. You can't do that in open common area for the consortium. Different empires do expand, as I'm sure you can well imagine. But what we got to remember is the Caboran Empire is a very large empire. And here's the thing you got to remember. Every Caboran is a planet. Okay? Every planet is not necessarily a Caboran. Okay? Now, the reality is the information on the Caboran is in my Races of the World, book 1. Okay? And again, if you go to the top of the chat room, you'll find the link that's locked there called buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. With this in mind, you can absolutely go there to get it. You can and those, as a matter of fact, talk to Storm. That will be your department. Storm has five more books coming onto the market. Well, more to the point, he's got 5 more books I wrote coming onto the market in PDF form into the Buy Me a Coffee link. I don't know if they're there yet, but as you can see by what just popped up there, we also have a free magazine called Positive Perspectives. Okay, that will be coming out. LA. In consortium space, you're not allowed to beat your slaves anyway. But on their own territory, the slavers can do what they will, and frankly, if the slaves decide to, they can do the same thing. The trick is you got to remember, if you've got a slave, you can certainly bring them in as a porter. They're carrying your luggage for you. By all means, there is no discussion of what they're getting paid. What there is a discussion of is whether or not they are being treated properly. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Storm. I do feel for you. That was just, it popped into my head. And I'm not going into it. But Storm has his hands full. And of course, the fact of the matter is, I've been all over the place. I think that's him. But when we take a look at the consortium common areas, everybody is treated equally. You will find the richest people in the world sitting right next door to a pauper. Now, I will tell you, number one, you won't run into paupers living in consortium space. Primarily because of the fact that, well, everybody can find work in the consortium. Okay, one way or the other. But that being said, the different social classes don't make much difference. Okay, because everybody gets treated the same way. Now, the only thing that they will do is make certain that if this area of the consortium, if this is an establishment that deals with the higher class, there is a certain dress code that will have to be utilized. And by the way, since most of the species are not bipedal, okay, you don't go looking for what humans call proper decor. Okay, you look at what the consortium says is the right attire. Okay, but many of the shops, especially when we're looking at restaurants, okay, many of their food shops are geared towards a specific type or a specific species. Okay, now this doesn't mean they won't feed it to anybody else, but I will tell you, if you're going to go into a restaurant that is geared towards the holic, humans aren't going to eat there. Okay, because literally they consider a glass of lava to be an enjoyable drink. Humans aren't geared towards drinking molten rock. They're not even geared to picking it up. So the consortium governs all of that. If a given species is looking to expand their empire and take on a new unoccupied planet, there are laws in place to let that happen. If two different groups land on different sides of the planet, the consortium is, if they land essentially at the same time, the consortium does not go, oh, you guys on the South Pole, you get the planet, you ones on the North, get off. They will let them evolve and see what happens as they meet in the middle. Sometimes this is good, sometimes not. Trust me, a lot of the six-legged people don't want to shop for six-legged pants either. Ouch. LA goes, people in southern New Mexico drink beverages like that. Hot chili in the baby bottles. Well, that's one way to give a kid a tolerance for it. Would you believe me, Raven, if I told you they actually have a form of liquid glass that they use? Or liquid crystal is more to the point. And yes, every mineral has a different flavor. Some and they like different ones. I will tell you, it's really hard to find a cooling drink in a holic restaurant. But nobody is banned from a given area aside from security purposes, okay, and safety regulations. Like, for instance, if you happen to be going into a Strazazian quadrant, Okay, they keep, I forget the name of it, but they keep a room that has the sandstorms going on in it. This is a way to make them feel at home, because the sandstorms that are on the Strazazian homeworld are such that they can strip a body to the bone, a human body, to the bone in a matter of moments. All in all, we are looking at something that is set up where everybody is treated equally. It is a safe place for everybody. Now, here's the kicker. You start a fight. You start creating a problem. Okay? When you start doing that with quantifiable evidence, they don't have big jails. Okay? They just don't. What they've got is a fusion reactor. Now, yes, some innocent parties on occasion have been lost. But if you're sentenced to death, okay, more times than not, you get simply tossed into the fusion reactor. It's that quick. Okay, so you just don't have a lot of people hanging around, sitting on their tail feathers, not working. Here we go. LA goes, I've had enough sandstorms recently to do me for a long time. Yeah, no doubt. I do actually in volume 2. There is, and I can't tell you offhand. Well, actually, maybe I can. Maybe I can tell you offhand. Where is... Volume 2. There we go. Now, I just need to find it, and I can tell you the other race I'm looking for. Nope, not that. I want... There we are. These guys. Zartan. Zartan they literally look like a diamond-shaped sand crystal. Okay, these are the guys that are on the Strazazian homeworld. So, again, you may not go into a certain area because your body simply won't handle it. Now, I require this. No, not that. There we are. Now, one of the nice things about this, the Consortium has been around for literally, well, Earth has only been here for about 5.4 billion years. Okay, and it's a relatively new planet. The Consortium has been around in some form since the dawn of this reality rendering. Thank you very much there, LA. Okay, and it was designed to make sure that everything runs in an equitable fashion. Okay, you have to have a balance in reality between the logic side of things. I lost something here. There we go. Behind the logical side of things, okay, and the chaotic side. Okay, so the law side is the building of reality. Okay, the building of reality is such that it is completely organized, completely well designed. Where the chaos factor came in was when the God that created it all set it in motion, he went literally, okay, all of you have free will and free choice. That's the chaos half. Okay, but none of you have freedom from consequence. Even God himself doesn't have that. Okay, he's got to follow the same laws. The nice part about all of this is when you look at when you go to the Consortium, there is a blanket listing for you of the basic laws, but the laws are simple. Follow the laws, literally. Follow the laws of the land in which you are. This means any building you go into, any quadrant you go into, has laws. Their laws are held above consortium law. But bear in mind, they cannot circumvent consortium law. In other words, if consortium law says, Philip Blair, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And that's not what the consortium law says. If consortium law says you cannot buy and sell slaves in consortium area, okay, well, this is great. It means you cannot, in consortium common area, set up a shop to sell slaves. Okay, you would have to direct people to the embassy of whichever species you're looking for that does deal in slavery. You can buy them and carry them through common consortium area, but you can't buy and sell them there. Okay, and yes, this is what their security teams are for, is to make sure if you're breaking the law, okay, then frankly, what's going to happen is you're going to get terminated. Taking that slavery thing into consideration. Uh-oh. I'm missing something here, Philip. I am. I'm not sure which consortium law you're referring to. But if you've got a slave and you're going through the consortium common area and the slave screams out that they're a slave, help, I've been put in slavery. The consortium official will come up to the slaver and go, paperwork. Okay, because in order to move a slave through consortium area, you have to have paperwork saying where you bought the slave. If it was bought in a slave trading area, in a slave trading embassy, the consortium enforcer will look at the slave and go, sorry, you're hooked. Now remember, the consortium security may not personally agree with slavery, but they are bound to have to let it go on, given that the owner of the slave is not beating on the slave. Okay, because you got to remember, that is against consortium law. If they want to beat on them after they get back to their place, that's their call. And yes, there are people in the consortium that literally, and these guys are playing a real dangerous game, because there are anti-slaver factions in the consortium that will defy consortium law and free a slave. By the way, to free a slave, you literally have to terminate the slaver. Otherwise, the consortium law will go, sorry, that slave still belongs to that person. And now you're in trouble for trying to illegally confiscate it. So, as you can see, I hope, the consortium is very organized, brutal in some ways, but very expeditious in solving legal disputes. Okay, now, if you've gone to the council to get something resolved or get the authorization for something, and there is an even split, 6 say yes, 6 say no, you now, whoever brought that question to the table, now can decide for themselves what they're going to do with it. I'm just looking to make sure I didn't miss something here, which apparently not. Now, with this in mind, and we didn't do that again, I really have to get on top of this. So I best make a point of doing that right now. Don't know what we're going to do. I've got to do that for tomorrow. I keep putting it off because I keep forgetting to do it. Okay, that's getting done because it's got to get done. That's the funny thing, Philip. Wage slavery doesn't happen in the consortium. Okay, it doesn't happen there at all, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, with this in mind, couple of real quick notes. The issue of the consortium laws and what have you are being expounded upon in Positive Perspectives in the free magazine, amongst other things. But we are coming on the 10 o'clock mark here, Pacific. That said, I do want to say thank you so very much, people, for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. I will be back again. Tomorrow's Monday. So I will be back again tomorrow. And of course, I'll also be back tomorrow with A Day in the Office, number 15. Okay, drop in there, ask your questions there as well. That said, we are closing down for the night. So I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us. And I will be back again tomorrow, 9 p.m. Pacific. Okay. And other than that, until we talk again, do take care of yourself.